For nearly 2 millennia, the Catholic Church has presented its authority as a flawless, continuous sequence. It is pitched as a direct line of succession, stretching all the way back to St. Peter, guided entirely by a divine hand. This lineage is documented in the official historical record, known as the Liber Pontificalis, or the Book of Popes. The tradition points back to early church fathers, like Jerome, systematically recording the names and reigns of every single pontiff to solidify that authority. But when you look closely at the data, spanning a highly specific 770-year block from 685 to 1455 AD, a massive chronological anomaly emerges. Modern statistical analysis reveals that this specific era behaves like a highly structured, repeating algorithm, following rigid mathematical rules rather than the chaotic patterns of human history. We are going to reverse engineer the Book of Popes. By tracking the patterns hidden in the data, we can uncover the exact rules used to artificially construct 7 centuries of European history. Evidence suggests the history we accept as a divine sequence was actually engineered, name by name, year by year, to create the appearance of continuity. Generating hundreds of years of fake history from scratch is a logistical nightmare. To pull it off, a fabricator needs a reliable base template to work from. That brings us to Rule 1, copy-paste. The data shows that the period from 384 to 530 AD served exactly this purpose. This chart compares the term lengths of 2 distinct papal eras. The exact lengths of office for popes in that early template period were copied and pasted to dictate the timeline for a completely different set of popes hundreds of years later, from 687 to 891 AD. The fabricators didn't stop at term lengths. They also copied identities, specifically harvesting papal names from the years 523 to 685. Those specific names were statistically recycled and mapped directly onto the subsequent era. In fact, half of all papal names in this period follow an identical pattern of repetition. Human events are chaotic. They do not perfectly repeat their data points. Because this specific era mirrors the exact math of a previous one, we can confidently identify it as a clone of the past. Once you start pasting centuries of cloned data, you face a new logistical problem. How does an author organize a 770-year timeline without losing track of their own forgery? They use Rule 2, structural bookends. If we look at the margins of the data, we find highly suspicious markers, specifically anti-popes named Anastasius, which translates from Greek as the resurrected. Popes named Anastasius appear exactly where the math breaks, marking the precise beginnings and ends of constructed sections. The name John works the same way, acting as a uniform spacer, dropping in precisely between fabricated blocks of exactly 14 or 18 popes. In these fabricated blocks, the names Anastasius and John serve as structural punctuation marks, used by an author to organize a fictional timeline into manageable chapters. As we move into the later Middle Ages, specifically 1154 to 1455, the fabrication algorithm reaches its most complex and unnatural extreme. We arrive at Rule 3, symmetrical blocks. Here, specific papal names are stacked in an impossibly neat, mirrored arrangement. Notice the identical vertical sequences in this chart. The names Alexander, Urban, Gregory, Clement, and Innocent repeat. This repetition is fully exposed only when you filter out occasional filler popes inserted as background noise. Once removed, the 2 stacks perfectly align. And the math controlling this list dictates long-term structure too. If you look at the larger timeline, there is an exact, mathematically calculated gap of 466 years separating the first Germanic pope from the first German pope. This flawless, mirrored symmetry is the definitive fingerprint of a design system. It proves we are looking at a mathematical construct, not a sequence of actual human lives. So when does the math finally stop? This structured algorithm abruptly shatters in the year 1455, right alongside the fall of Constantinople. The exact moment the timeline breaks from its rigid pattern corresponds to the arrival of the infamous House of Borgia to the papacy. Immediately, the data normalizes. Papal names that hadn't been used for over a millennium suddenly reappear. the copy-paste algorithms vanish, and messy, thoroughly documented Renaissance politics take over. Which leaves us with the true motive. Why would the powerful Renaissance families of the 15th and 16th centuries need to invent 700 years of medieval history? These families seized control through ruthless, often violent ambition. By engineering an unbroken chain of predecessors, they built a historical foundation to justify their newly acquired thrones. These Renaissance families secured their ultimate authority by mathematically engineering the past to justify their rule in the present.